Oilers Live Podcast. Oilers Live Podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here with Oilers Live for another Oilers Live Tuesday. We took a couple weeks hiatus from doing a show. Just having a good night. Oilers snap a 3-game skid. Lots of good things happening around the NHL. Maybe some not so good things, as Jack says on our YouTube chat. Praying for Kaner to have a speedy recovery. I tonight was at a Halifax Mooseheads game. I want to do a quick shout out to the Halifax Mooseheads of the Q, who have hit the CHL top 10 just about every week this season, this young season. They beat. It was an exciting game if you're a Mooseheads fan tonight. One of the second-year guys had a Sorry, I have to laugh because Kelly from Beer League Heroes says, Mike, is the furnace broken in your house? Assuming he's talking about the toque. Anyway, one of the young guys had a 4-goal game for the Mooseheads tonight. They beat the rivals from Moncton 8-2 tonight. And it's pretty exciting. Q's pretty exciting hockey. It was a good game all around. They're just doing amazing things. They got this guy, Jordan Dumais, who had 6 points tonight, and he's got, if I'm not mistaken, like 38 points in 16 games this year. So he's doing all right. Anyway, just a little shout out to the Mooseheads out here in Halifax. I have got as my guest tonight Mr. Kirk Morris, who loves his goaltenders. And has been doing some articles for Heavy Hockey, as everybody knows. He's part of the Heavy Hockey crew. Always happy to have him on. How you doing, Kirk? And we're going to get right into Campbell tonight because this is probably his best game of the season. So how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just stoked that they finally snapped out of their little funk, their little 3-game losing skid, and Soup looked awesome tonight there. So I'm really happy for the team and for him as well. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a resurgence, I think. There, I think maybe Jack has gone over the hump there, so to speak. There, and this boost of confidence will help him out definitely.
Yeah, I thought he played. An excellent game. Positionally, he looked really solid tonight against a Tampa team, which, were no slouches. Like, they moved the puck quite well. Kucherov, every time I see him, he's just one of my favorite players to watch. He's big, he's crafty, he's good. It was good to see Campbell bounce back, especially when we needed him to tonight. I literally had chalked this up as a loss before I watched it. Yeah. Were you surprised at how well he played?
I was happy he played well. Surprised? I don't think so. It was well due. He had to have a good game eventually because history repeats itself all over again there with Toronto. He has a tendency of having very slow starts or very ugly starts, whatever way you want to put it. And I wasn't hitting the panic button, so to speak, there like everybody else in Oilers Nation and all the fans there on Twitter. But I knew he was going to come around eventually there. But I've screamed this from the mountaintops here before. It's not so much the goaltender as is the team in front of the goaltender with the defensive structure and the systems in place. The guys weren't really helping out either, him or Skinner as of late, kind of hanging them out to dry defensively in their own end. So
What do you think of the defensive pairings tonight? I mean, they changed that up a little bit. Obviously, Barry and Nurse played more time together today. I'd have to look at the numbers to see if they actually did, but I think it did spread it out a little bit. CC, of course, CC's been solid for a guy. I don't think anybody's expected. He's been, in my mind, the best defensive defenseman we've had on the team over 2 seasons. But did you think the defense played better tonight, or were we a little bit luckier? What's your view on that?
I thought their coverage was way better, like especially in the defensive zone. Once again, they were a little more active in front of Jack. Trying to get sticks into the lanes there and whatnot, and just being more active rather than passengers like they were even last night there in Washington. Like the start of that game was just atrocious. It was like they were in quicksand, and it was just a train wreck, in slow motion type of deal. And then they finally picked it up after the first period. But tonight it was the Oilers of old. I thought, anyways. Like they were very vested in their defensive play.
Yeah. Yeah, they were certainly. I thought they were pretty solid. There's still, I see some inconsistencies in Nurse when he plays defense. I thought he got lucky a couple times tonight, where actually I thought Soup, bailed him out a little bit. There's a lot of things, I'm not going off on Nurse. I've had moments this year where I've been pretty upset with his play, but overall, I really like Darnell Nurse. But I don't mind, I guess, as far as you're concerned with this defense, I was happy to see him and CC spread out a little bit tonight, because some of these other guys definitely need the help.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah,
I was just going to say there, like with Ryan Murray there too, I thought he played a solid game there for once.
Defensively, he's been a train wreck, right? He's been,
and he literally
really
saved the game there towards the end there, that disallowed goal that didn't cross the line. So
yeah,
the refs got that one right.
Jax on YouTube says the guys were taking way too many penalties. It's funny. I've been doing a heavy hockey minute. For those of you that don't know, pregame every game, I've been trying to squeeze in as much information 1 minute in YouTube short that I can. And when I teed it up on Twitter, I said, look, like this team, given the stats that we have, we're top of the league offensively on the power play, goals for per game, but we're at the bottom of the league in goals against per game and PK, right? I mean, you couldn't have a bigger tale of two teams. And I said, there's two things got to happen tonight in Tampa Bay, and that's either you got to have a better PK or you got to be more disciplined. Ideally, it would be both, right?
Naturally.
But again tonight, I mean, the Oilers are the most penalized team in the league, and I don't understand it. But there's some. I thought the slash on McDavid was a little bit weak, but that sort of thing will happen. I didn't. At first, I was a little bit fuming. After the first period, I felt the officiating could have been a little bit better. But you know what? I think they got better as the game went on. They're taking, lack of a better word, shitty penalties. It's really undisciplined, and it's been consistent. I think some of that goes down to when you're hemmed into your zone defensively, that crap's going to happen, right? I don't know. I mean, this team's got to have they got to be both more disciplined and better PK. At least tonight they got one of the two right. Against I think a team Tampa Bay that could really kill you on the power play.
Yeah, I missed the first half, the first period here and tonight, and what I saw, I literally just tuned in after the goal there by Fogel, who got his monkey off his back there finally there, and tallied something there with all his hard work, but they weren't too aggressive, but they were more structured. They had a line of defense right at that blue line and just kept them out, just kind of and once again with the active sticks, I thought just making Tampa, actually work rather than allowing them to, the play come to them. They weren't being too aggressive, but they were strong enough defensively just to hold the line. And they even had some chances there. I think Hyman had a couple chances. I think Yamamoto had one there tonight there too. And just breakouts there. I thought they were awesome, for the most part. Going back to last night's game there, like the penalties in the third, just atrocious. Like the cross check by Bouchard, I don't know what he was thinking. I know it's kind of natural, you're kind of bracing yourself. You kind of threw a stick up, as a natural reaction there. But the refs there last night, I thought there for a little bit had the Oilers' number. Like they were just looking for anything just to call against them. But the same thing again there tonight. There was a whole bunch of missed calls. I thought Tampa was being a little choppy, a little ticky-tacky,
I try to look at those things. I mean, obviously, we're going to look at them with our Oilers glasses on and, see what we want to see. We're looking for penalties against our team more often than we're looking against penalties, that should be called against our team. And so, it's easy to miss those, I think. And I get upset with the officiating. I got upset with the officiating in Halifax tonight, and we were winning 8-3. And of course, when you're in person, you can boo out loud and nothing's wrong. But there's two things. One is, like Connor McDavid, there were a couple times where he gets, hooked down. Well, any other human in this world, we're not quite sure he goes down. Connor fights right through it. And, the only thing that really sort of chokes me up about that is there are people that, aren't Oilers fans that say he's soft or he goes down like all the time, because there'd be a call. He does draw, overall, he still draws a lot of penalties. He doesn't draw, a third of what he should draw, because he doesn't go down. You could hook him and he'll still fight through it. And there were a couple times tonight where I looked, I watched. In fact, I, put it on the rewind to kind of have a look. And it's clear as day to me. It's a hook or it's something, or it would normally be a trip. But he's up in such a flash that, if he does go down, that, they don't call it, and they miss that. I wish they would watch some type of game tape and realize that. Kelly from Beer League Heroes says veteran teams get veteran calls. And I think that's also part of it, right? Like you talk about the Perry thing early, right? Where he's, in the crease. Perry might be the best example of it. Like that guy gets the benefit of the doubt, more often than not. And, what is it? He's talking to the officials at every moment he can. He's doing all
buttering them up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing all the things that he needs to do. Really, the Oilers can't concern themselves with that. They got to continue to, if they just work hard and they got some calls tonight. I
thought they took advantage there. Like last night, they were pretty flat, and then tonight, I think they were 3 for 3, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they didn't.
2 for 2 or 2 for 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 2 for 3. 2 for 4. I think.
2 for 4. Got you. Yeah.
No, I gotta check that out.
But yeah, like I thought I thought for the most part it was a well balanced game. Like and towards the end there too, like Tampa was really, putting the hammer down there, trying to get anything at the net there, and they did almost tie it up. But once again, I thought Campbell was strong, like right from start to finish, or at least from what I saw there. And
Well, he played against the post like as strong as I've seen him play on the post. Other than that one that kind of flipped up that Murray saved from going in.
He reacted pretty damn good though. Like all things considered, there, like he stretched out, put his skate against the post. He did what he could.
Yeah.
And it's easy to pick it apart there in slow mo, but real time it's pretty darn quick. So you gotta give him credit where credit's due. Like he played a solid game tonight.
Yeah, and we need obviously we need more of that though, right? I mean, this is one of he's got I don't know for sure. I haven't looked at the stats, but he's got to have the worst save percentage of any starter in the league right now.
He's down there, yeah. He's down towards the bottom third, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk among the folks at Heavy Hockey about whether or not Skinner will get more games. I just don't want to see Skinner get more games like that. I love Skinner, but I'd love to see him play a backup role for a full season, right? Like because we see, we can see the progression of this guy in the NHL. And for him to come in for a first full season and play in a starter role would be, in my mind, it'd be ridiculous, and it would mean something's gone wrong, right? Yeah, is definitely what that means. I'd like to see him play a solid backup role and earn his time in the start. I mean, not that he hasn't earned it. Look, he's one of the top save percentages in the league right now. He's positionally, he's been outstanding. Nothing.
He's sixth. Sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah.
He's sixth. I think 5v5, like at even strength there, like I think he's still like 940 or 950 or something like that. Something crazy like that.
And it's nothing crazy. Like he is just positionally a sound goaltender. That's been, it's not, you're not seeing these. I mean, a lot of goalies would tell you that means they're out of position when you see the big saves. But he has just been like, it looks like when he's playing that the puck's just hitting him, which is exactly what you want from a good goalie, right?
Well, and it's being square to the shooter. I'm no expert, but I am a huge fan of goaltenders, and I do listen to a lot of people like Kevin Woodley there at In Goal Magazine and NHL.com. And the biggest thing, and you look back at like Mikko Koskinen, the last 3 seasons, there was a steady progression, and Dustin Schwartz hammered it home with him. Like, you got to be square to the shooter. And with such a big frame, and even Skinner, like he's 6'4", 6'5", that's a huge frame to move quick. But he's really nailed it down with his timing. Like, it just to be in that position, square to the shooter, he's going to have some 10 bell saves where you're going to have be like a yard sale pretty much. Yep. You're going to have to throw it out there from time to time, but there's no urgency. Like there's no happy feet. There's no urgency. Like he's not scrambling. He's just calm, collected, and he gets in position and he's square to the shooter, and it's like shooting against a brick wall.
Who does he remind you of? Because I was thinking about this today, and I'll just tell you, because you'll probably guess a whole bunch of other people. He reminds me of Talbot, the year that Talbot came in and had a really good season for the Oilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Talbot that year, wasn't anything like shoot the lights out. Like he just did his job, went in, got, as you say, square to the shooter, and the puck hit him all season. And, that's just exactly what we hope. Let's get back to the game tonight. Fogle, of course, off the Schneid. I thought I thought it was, I don't know. I mean, that kind of a goal, Vasilevsky, that doesn't happen very often, but whatever it takes to get the puck on the net, a little ringer off the post. Hey, I'll take it. I thought he had a good game tonight, like overall.
I thought he's been due for a while. He has been, that third line as a whole, it's been good. Like, apart from the last couple games, of course, but as a whole, overall, they've been doing pretty darn good. They've had chemistry, and you can tell that Fogle was getting frustrated to the ninth degree. Like, and then finally, like, you seen him there after in the celebration. He was so jacked, like he was so stoked. And I think he should have like 3 or 4 goals by now, if not more. He's had the chances. Just no breaks, just no puck luck, to a certain
Well, he's
point.
been streaky his whole career, right? Like he goes, and I'll take a streak right now because the Oilers could use one falling now to, or I guess rising up to 8-6 on the season through 14. But they were 7-6, and if a couple more weeks that we hit that magical American Thanksgiving mark where we see where everybody is. The rest of this road trip's not getting any easier, right?
No, they got another big challenge there against Carolina there on Thursday, and then the dreaded matinee game there against Florida on Saturday.
Gotta figure out the matinees, I tell you.
Oh, brutal, man. Brutal.
What's your what else do you take from this game tonight? I mean, obviously the power play's still looking good. Kelly says Yamo looked better on the third line. I thought so too. I think here's a question for you, and a question for those tuning in on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or wherever. Puljujarvi is, he's a polarizing figure among Oilers fans at any given day. There's a couple guys on the NHL network that absolutely are distraught that he's being played with Connor McDavid. I thought he had a great game tonight, but how long do you give a guy with all the shots on net before you take him down from there? Like, and do you like him being on Connor McDavid's wing? What's your thoughts on that? And to anybody out there, I mean, if let us know in the chat what you figure.
I thought he looked better than decent tonight. Like, he had his chances. Once again, he just can't put a finish on it. Like, I don't know. It's got to be once again. It's got to be a confidence thing. But he looks awkward trying to finish, especially in front of the net there. I think his compute level, it isn't fast enough. Like, I don't know. He's a tough nut to crack there when it comes to his hockey IQ and finishing. Like, I think once he gets it, and it still might take another year or two, unfortunately, but once he gets it, once it all clicks in, look out. But there's people on Twitter and wherever else, they're just tarred and feathered and beaten down left, right, and center with him, and just say, well, he needs a fresh start. Trade him.
Well, he's not just polarizing among fans. It's like I said, there's a couple guys on the NHL network that, as I said, were, taken aback that he's played any time on McDavid's wing this year, or any year for that matter. They've said that they feel like the puck dies with him. I thought tonight he played, significantly better than last game, but it's the same. It's the same problem in my mind, and maybe it's perception, but I feel like it's because Kelly's saying if you want a fun thought exercise, look at Hyman's career numbers and compare them with Puljujarvi's. I just the perception is that he gets the puck, he gets the shot on net, but he doesn't put it in the net, right? And
Yeah,
I
no.
can't like get it out of my head, and I've been saying this for well over a year that doesn't cross McDavid's mind or Draisaitl's mind when they're out there playing with that guy. I mean that's the kind of thing. Maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe who knows what it is, but it just feels like he's not putting the puck in the net when he's getting a chance, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a point at which where you say, look, we're not going to put him on there anymore, or the reverse becomes true, which is he just starts potting them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
Yeah.
know. You take a look at what else he brings. Like tonight, he drew a penalty,
Yep.
which led to a goal.
Yeah.
So generally, that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, the nuts and bolts of it all, it comes down to goals and assists, like the score sheet.
Yeah.
So, how far do you go with his advanced stats versus the hard facts, which goals and assists? And eventually, he's going to have to put something up. And once again, like you don't know what's happening behind the scenes there. You could be, having issues with family or whatever else, or who God knows what. But once he gets that confidence and uses his body there too, like there's times there this year there he stepped it up physically.
Yeah.
So
Actually, this is
like
the
Fogle.
most physical he's been in his
Yeah.
whole career. He's made some nice hits this year. Even
Oh,
tonight, there was a couple of times where the Tampa Bay Lightning players were slashing at him after the play. Right,
yeah.
like he's finally using that big frame. Not finally. I mean, he has in the past. That's not fair.
Yeah.
But he's noticeably using it this year, and I like it. There's
I
a
think
lot of
that's
things I love
accreditation
about
to-
Puljujärvi. I think he deserves time on this team. I always just question whether he should be on that top line or not. I mean,
Well, and you got to give a little accreditation there to Evander Kane, telling him, basically being his hype man, you got to throw the body. You got to get in people's faces. You see in the practice videos there, or the practice film there, he's punching them there. He's a little bit of play fighting and whatnot, but yeah, like he's definitely stepped it up on the physicality end of things this year. I thought, anyways, and it's very noticeable.
yeah, it is noticeable. I thought, and tonight, he was noticeable out there. He had a couple of great deflections. I think, Jack Michaels mentioned he had, maybe 4 of the Oilers' first 7 shots. He was a key part of them I think in turning the game around. As you said, he drew a penalty. He did all the right things. The one guy, and it's funny that here's something I wanted to talk about, because last game, Oilers playing Capitals, this team, like, lackluster performance, right, for the first 2, maybe 2.5 periods, right?
Yeah.
The one guy that continues to come to play every night, Zach Hyman. Like, the guy gets on his horse and absolutely, gets around Ovechkin, takes the puck, sets up the goal.
Yep.
I love this guy. I've got to order like a Zach Hyman jersey. He is outstanding. Every game he comes out to play, he always goes around the net and gets a shot on net. He's getting the puck to the net. He's doing all these things right. But in a game like last night against Washington, he's the spark the Oilers need.
Yep.
Right? Like, he gets lost in the shuffle of Draisaitl and McDavid. I mean, everybody knows he's good. Let's be honest. But man, like, I just got to say it. Like, huge shout out to this guy. Like, he is outstanding. The other night, right when that hit happened, and then he comes in and lays the body, right? Like, he does everything. He was probably smiling the whole time he did it too, right?
Oh yeah. No, he I said it there before earlier in the year. Like, I wish we had like 6 Zach Hymans on our team. They're pure heart, like just never ends. No, he's constantly, making an effort every time he's on the ice. And he's almost, I would almost say like a throwback to Ryan Smith. He never backs down. He's always in front of the net there trying to get a greasy goal in or a deflection. And that there, once again tonight, he was right outside the blue paint. What did you think about that goal? Did you think it would be disallowed, or do you thought it was?
I thought it was clearly a kicking motion. In fact, okay. I had to catch up on the game, and as soon as I saw the replay, I just went straight to the no goal. Yeah. I went straight to the. I assume maybe just based on your question that you thought maybe it wasn't a kicking motion.
I don't know. Maybe Luchansky paid you off there and free Wi-Fi or something.
No, I mean, I would love to get mad about a goal like that because we all know that the Oilers have been screwed over on a number of replays. I didn't. To me, it was pretty blatant. Whether he intended to, I think he intended to kick it. I just don't think he intended it to go in. It's like any player is going to try and get the puck, and so rules of the game, though. It's kicking motion, which it was clear his foot was in motion. The only thing that surprised me is I had to hit plus 30 seconds more than once because I thought it would be a quicker call than that. That's honestly, that's the only thing that surprised me. I just thought it was, clearly seemed clear to me. But the Oilers, you know what, they overcame it. I'll take that non-goal, all night long. Like, that's the kind of player Hyman is, right? Like, getting into that area. He'll, 50% of the time, he's just going to have a skate on the ice, not a kicking motion that goes in. Right?
And we even see it last year in the playoffs, man. Like, he takes shots there too. Like, and he was literally Markstrom's kryptonite. Them 2 goals in that one game. And you could tell that Markstrom was getting more and more frustrated, but yeah, like I said there before, like earlier in the year, where once again the entire team's play as a whole was lackluster. I thought he stood out. Yeah, just endless motor, just constantly grinding away.
Yeah, you know what you're getting out of Hyman in the lineup. I don't know that he's had off games where I don't think he's maybe not. Getting the puck that was the same way he normally would. Neil on YouTube said it reminds me of Glenn Anderson. Yeah. But even on a bad game, he's given his effort, right? Like he just comes to play. He shows up. He comes to play, and I think that's his success. Is he's, you talk about guys like Ryan Smith. They're not amazing with the puck. Right, they're not doing the Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl type of things, but they just come out and play, and that's their talent, right? And what they say, hard work beats talent every time, right? Like, yeah, I mean that's
no days off.
Yeah, he doesn't take any days off. I mean, I love that guy. Kelly says, any thoughts on $9 million star D-man Darnell Nurse? Pardon me, Darnell Nurse getting benched at the end of the game. Not being on the ice because he did play a lot of minutes tonight. Your thoughts on that? I mean, I think it just goes to what I said earlier. It's been consistent this year. He's not reading the play extremely well for a top line D man. And I guess it doesn't surprise me if Woodcroft sits him for a little while. There's a lot of things Darnell Nurse brings to the game, but he's not, let's just call it for what it is. If you think of top D men in the league, right, he's not that guy that you expected. And anybody who says otherwise, I think, hasn't been really, thinking about it, because we knew at the start of this season defense was going to be a problem. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, Duncan Keith there last year, at least he. I heard about this today on Gregor's show, and they were talking about, the absence of Duncan Keith has left this big giant void on the left side of the defense. And you gotta, I don't know, you gotta give a little bit of slack to Darnell Nurse. And even he commented, he said, well, there's people texting me and messaging me there that Darnell Nurse is not a number one D man in this league. And I don't know. I tend to lean on, yes, I think he is a top pairing defenseman.
Well,
But
so
he leans more to the offensive side
Yeah.
rather than the defensive side.
it's fine to call him a top pairing defenseman who's not a top pairing defensive defenseman, right? I think any team would love to have him. I really, I believe that. I think there's a lot of things he brings to the lineup. He's tough as shit, right? Like when when you need a guy that, to drop the gloves or do something like that. I mean, there's,
He hasn't chucked the Knucks in a while, but
no, he
yeah,
hasn't, but he sure can when it's time.
Yeah.
He's great offensively. I think, like, when he gets into the zone. I just think this year, I'd love to see somebody coach him a little bit on the defensive aspects of the game. I thought, Manson might change some more of the team defensively than has it really happened so far this year.
And maybe they're
Yeah.
tonight benching him there at the end of the game. Maybe that was a Manson move, not a Woodcroft move. Or do you think otherwise?
I think 100% Manson move. I think as we've seen all through Woody's existence with the Oilers, he gives Dave full credit as being part of the coaching staff, being part of his success. He's not about Woodcroft. It's about him and Dave. And so 100% think that, it's a Manson move. I think Manson's has been smart. I thought maybe we'd have a little bit more in terms of some defensive structural changes, but we don't have the personnel from a defense standpoint. I mean, when you're counting on, the guys that we have, and Nurse plays, just a ton of minutes, right? Like,
He's a minute muncher, yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not trying to get down on Nurse. He makes some bad. I think in my mind he makes some bad defensive plays, and so it doesn't surprise me he's not out there in the final minute. I'd like to see him in. I think he's perfectly capable. We all know he's athletic enough. A little bit, maybe some more coaching or whatever, but let's be honest, he's a way better defenseman than I'll ever be. So it's hard for me to say that, but. Anyway, it'd be great to see him just play a little bit more defensively. I think sometimes he opts for the offensive rush when I'd like to see him thinking a little bit more defensively.
Yeah.
There's
hanging
a
tough
few.
then.
I you know what? I have a few surprises. It's funny. I think probably our good friend Dash is listening in. In fact, I see him on Twitter listening in. I see, he is. We all kind of talked about the Calgary Flames. Dash obviously thought they were going to maybe come out of the gates a little bit better than they have. We'll see if they turn it around. They're looking.
That's his favorite team.
Yeah, I won't bug him for that. I give him a hard time before, but I won't bug him for that. I mean, he was right. Any Sutter coach team is likely to do better than what the personnel really suggests it'll do. I'm just not as surprised about Huberdeau as everyone else seems to be. 1 goal, 5 assists in 11 games.
It's a new team.
It's a new team. This is exactly what I expected. But there's so my original point though was to say, look, there's a lot of things we thought early on the season, and one of the things I thought was that Manson would have more of an effect on the defensive structure of this team. And in fact, it's been worse than I expected. And our offense on the other hand has been better than expected. I'm not sure where this team ends up as the season progresses.
Tonight was a good direction. It was a better turn defensive wise. And I think everybody's season has ups and downs. Peaks and valleys. It's a roller coaster ride. It's how you, as Woody says, teachable moments. You're gonna have hiccups where to the point where, and even with last game there, and then versus Dallas there was just atrocious. You have to have a certain amount of time, even with the new guys, like even with Ryan Murray, and even to a point there with Marcus Niemelainen. I know Woodcroft has a history with Niemelainen, but Niemelainen's still growing there too. And if you bring somebody up from the farm, say like a Vinny Desharnais or a Michael Kesselring, they're gonna have growing pains just like anybody else. You take a look at Evan Bouchard last year, same thing. He wasn't always stellar. He didn't always have the crisp passes every single time.
Yeah.
And to have a vet like Duncan Keith on his side, I thought it helped him immensely. So do you dare bring somebody up from the farm, to have that dead cat bounce where he's clearly playing on adrenaline there for the first couple games, and then you fall flat on their faces, rather than trade for somebody. Because I heard there on Low Tide this morning, Alan thinks that they're not going to make a move until the deadline for a left shot D man. And that's what he said. He said that's what this team is lacking. They need another veteran D man to anchor everything down. So,
well, to be curious what happens.
Do you go
now
to the farm in the meantime?
Yeah. Now though that let's assume that Evander Kane is going to be out for a period of time. I'm curious what happens here, right? I mean, we'll see how this team reacts, to Kane being out. Who's gonna move up the lineup? Do you move Yamamoto back up there now that Puljujarvi's seemingly getting a little bit of chemistry, with all the shots he got tonight? Maybe you move Yamo back up to that second pair, or a second line, which I don't know that that's what I do, but I bet you that's what happens. And
who do you bring up?
Pardon me?
Who do you bring up from the farm?
Well, that's a question too, right? Who do you bring up? And then what do you going to do there in terms of, hey, like from a salary perspective, taking Kane out of the lineup opens up, a fair bit of LTIR room to move. Maybe they can even consider, doing something from a defensive standpoint that they might have been holding off to do. Kelly kind of beat me to this, in his comment. He said they loaded up on bottom pairing depth D-men in the hopes this roster can carry itself to the deadline in a playoff spot. And at the deadline, they can pick up what they need. I was going to ask, and I see there's folks watching on Twitter, YouTube, all these. I'm kind of curious what everybody's thoughts are. Like, is this this 8-6 start. Are you happy with this? Is this where you expected the Oilers to be at this point? Should they be better? Are they a better team, or are we seeing the Oilers for what they are right now? What's
Are
your
they a
thoughts?
better team? Yes. The goaltending in I'm not laying this at the feet of Jack Campbell or Stuart Skinner. There's going to be growing pains there as well because you got Jack Campbell, brand new goaltender on a new team, new systems. It's going to take a while for that to naturally progress where he has a rhythm with the defensive structure and then with the players themselves. And same thing even with Skinner. He knows the guys really, really well, but he's going to take a little time to adjust there too. You mentioned about overplaying Skinner and Dash saying, maybe Skinner plays more than Campbell. I think that he'll be a 1B at the best this year, or he should be a 1B at least.
Yeah, he's earned it, right? He's earned
And
the spot, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, have a 48, like 48, 30, 35 split or whatever it is, like with the games played. If you keep Campbell under the 50 mark, you have two guys. You have a tandem ready to go for the playoffs if need be. Or if you want to ride out Campbell into the playoffs, he still has a lot of tread left on them tires. But I think right now, I'd rather have the hiccup right now rather than in, say, like late January or early February, where it really does start to wind up and it really does matter in the standings. And having like teams like Calgary, blowing a tire as well, and even Los Angeles to a certain degree, and Vancouver. But then you have surprises like Seattle and Vegas. So as long as you're in that wild card area or right next to the like second or third place in the Pacific, I think you'll be fine. It's just, once again, when do you hit the panic button with your defensive play? That's been their biggest crutch, is trying to play shutdown defensive hockey when it matters the most. Last year, even into the playoffs there against Los Angeles, they did it. I know this team can do it.
Yeah.
But it's just, on a consistent basis. That's their biggest fault right now, is playing consistently. If they can do that, and it's not going to happen right away. Because once again, like I said, you got two new goalies. You got Skinner, basically in a full-time NHL position. And then you've got an unknown guy in Campbell. He's, like I said, he's still trying to work stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I've got confidence in Campbell. I think that he's this might be the start of a bounce back. We'll wait and see, right? I mean, one game's not gonna. He's gonna get one more game at least on the road here. I'm curious who they start against Carolina. We'll see. I would actually love for them to start Campbell against Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Give him a couple in a row, and then see. Dash brings up, we have 10 forwards left on this road trip. Thoughts? That's a good point, right? Like, here's the thing, right? Like, what's the next step for this team? Kelly has said, right, like, there's one D-man on the NHL roster, right, in Bakersfield. That's Broberg.
Yep.
You've got you've got some guys that, of course, having Benson out with the knee injury, that's not playing well. He'd be, in my mind, he'd be next up, and he had a great. You still got Janmark, right?
Yep. Yeah, he's still marinating there in Bakersfield. Yep.
I mean, I guess that's probably who you bring up, right? In my mind,
Yeah.
he's an NHL player, and he's played, great.
Well, the only guy that didn't play tonight was Shore.
That's right.
So they've got Shore, so they can have technically go 11-7 against Carolina with Shore in the lineup. But yeah, who do you bring up? Do you bring up Janmark? Then you got to make the money jive once again, right?
Well, I
Or
think
unless
though,
if they
like
put-
you've got
they
the
put
IR.
King on the outside.
Yeah, I think if
Right.
he's going to have a procedure, whatever that means, he's going straight to IR, and they can backdate it, right?
Retroactive, yeah.
Yeah, retroactive. You got to think that. I mean, that's who to answer. Gazzola brought up Costin.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility.
Are you willing to lose him though on waivers though when you have to put him back down?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
think anybody
I
would
guess
pick him
that's that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Griffith has done well. Hamblin. When I think about that, we're rounding out the bottom six with whoever you bring up. The real question is not necessarily who you bring up, because I think the Oilers have some players they can bring up. The question to me is, who do you put back into the top six? And my thought, at least initially, is that they put Yamo back up with Draisaitl and Hyman. Probably you got Puljujarvi, who, as I said tonight, he looked much better tonight than he did last night against Washington. With all the shots and drawing a penalty. So I think you keep Puljujarvi up there. That McLeod's really got. McLeod is another guy that just comes out and plays every night. Like,
Yeah.
I'd love to. He made a couple of beauty passes to the slot that Fogel probably could have buried too. Not to the slot, but
Yeah,
right
he
into the
did,
blue
yeah.
paint. Right,
Yeah.
like really sort of tricky passes that made it onto the stick of Fogel. That I think it had been Draisaitl, he would have probably buried them. Anyway, McLeod, to me, like I'm just such a big McLeod fan. He comes out and plays every night. He doesn't play a lot of minutes, and he still seems to get it done when he's out there. I don't have many complaints. But if you put Yamo up to that top six, and maybe you bring Holloway up, right?
I was just going to ask you that. Do they put Holloway on Draisaitl or McDavid's line and run with it for a bit?
Yeah. Or you do that. I just look. I loved. I loved Holloway's play in the preseason. He hasn't been exceptional when we've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's he's played like a rookie, right? Like
Yep.
he's to me he's a bottom six guy. He's played like a bottom six guy, and that's not to take anything away from the player that he may be in the future, but he's not the Calder Cup, Calder Trophy finalist that some people had hoped for, including myself. I mean, we looked at him in preseason. It seems Oilers always have one standout in preseason that seems to. Anyway, he's made some questionable plays defensively. I just wouldn't put him in the top six. I mean, it's not just here in the chat where I've heard people talking about it. I think people, we gotta watch out as Oilers fans. We always want like this, like the I don't know, the Robbie Schremps of this world, right? Like these guys, we want to bring them in and have them, play top 6 minutes and just absolutely knock everybody off their feet, because we all know that there's a good player in there. and it's a fan favorite. I love Holloway. I don't think he's ready top six right now. When he's out
Yeah.
there, he's not getting the puck as often as he should. He's chasing it a lot. He's as we know, he's made some defensive blunders. I think continue to play him in the bottom six role and let him learn and be around and when he makes those mistakes, get him back out there to relearn. I think Woodcroft is as great a coach as anybody for looking after these young players as they move up. But I really, really don't want to see him in the top six. Dash says exactly my thoughts. This puts the top six in a permanent blender now, in my opinion. I think it does. I think top six though. Who do you the only great thing? Well, not the only great thing, but the one great thing about this year and Woodcroft is outside of the beginning of the season, we haven't seen much of the nuclear option being used.
That is true. That is definitely true. And he does, throw him out there like the last minute of a period type of deal here and there. Just to spark something. Maybe they'll
final
maybe
minute
they'll
of a
create
period is
something.
a whole different story, right?
That's peanuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, he's really stood fast. Unless if there's like last night there where he had to keep pouring it on. To quote Jack Michaels, keep pouring it on to the point where you do have a fighting chance and you can get back into the game. Then he would let off again and let everybody do their thing. But
Okay, we're gonna. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you. No, I forgot. Brain fart.
That's all right. That's
My
all right. I figured we are gonna start to wind down. Dash brings up a good question. He says, thoughts on 97 playing on the PK now?
I still like Drysdale better. I know it's another option you could have. I know Woody's used McDavid sparingly here and there. Tonight was a little bit of a different situation because you have somebody waiting in the penalty box that can jump into the rush type of deal. But for like the most part, one block shot away from a broken foot or whatever, boy, I remember he blocked a shot once and I just cringed. I was just like, frick, like, no. So I do like McDavid's, he's definitely stepped up his defensive play in his own end. So
Yeah.
he's a viable option, but I wouldn't use him all the time.
Yeah. I like the way Woody uses them, right? You're on a 3-game slide. You pull out all the options, right? You do what you need to do. You're having some trouble on the PK. Nobody's expecting McDavid out there, and that's the way it should always be, right? That when you put him out there, nobody's expecting him, and that's when he is, he's more efficient on the PK. But yeah, 100%. Like, you don't want a guy like that playing. I mean, it bugs me watching Draisaitl play on the PK sometimes, thinking he might get injured, but it's Draisaitl and the guy's just really fucking good. Like nobody knocks a puck down better than Draisaitl. I'll tell you what. I mean, you never get tired of watching McDavid, but Draisaitl on every facet of the game, I just love watching the guy. He made that cross ice backhand pass tonight that didn't lead to anything, but it just blows me out of my mind. Like it, to see him go, all the way across the ice surface like that on a backhand, tape to tape, through sticks, through everything. Absolutely it kills me. Neil makes a good point too on YouTube. He says if you're taking 20 penalties per game, you have to get 97 out there sometimes. That's true. 100% true.
Yeah, touche.
Can't argue that.
Touche.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wind down. there were a couple things that I had, and then just like he would when he's on the show, Dash sidetracked me with the 97 penalty kill commentary. I forgot how I was going to end the show tonight.
And I just there's one comment there made
yeah.
by Kelly that I got to chime in. He said Vegas is running away with the thing so far, and with backup goalies no less. I wonder if they trade for a real number one around the deadline. I got to comment on this. I think they're going to run with Thompson because I know he's a rookie. He's technically still a rookie. I think that he's from his play there the last quarter of last year. I think they're fine. I think they're comfortable. I know Casty is hard on his goaltenders, just like Lindy Ruff. He's basically old school. I think they'll stand pat. Number one, they don't have the cap space. Number two, I know Laurent Brossoit is ready to come back here pretty soon, so they're going to have to flip guys anyways in order to create more space to bring him back. But I think as a whole with Vegas, why change things until things fall apart? Why not? Why not just keep them status quo and then go from there?
I'm still not a believer in this Vegas squad. I don't. I mean, we'll see. But they're obviously right now. You have to be. They, Kelly replies. I just think it's Vegas. If they want somebody, they'll do their damnedest to get it done. He's 100% right on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He added in if they've been fixing things that aren't broken since they joined the league.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're cursed because what they did to Flower, honestly. I think that was the beginning of the end for them, and then you've seen things roll downhill like with Leonard and with all their goaltending problems and whatnot there. But Thompson, in my opinion, in my honest and humble opinion, I think Thompson he's been freaking stellar for them, like 100%. They even tonight there, I watched the little tidbits of them in Toronto and they won in overtime. But Vegas is stingy, man, just like New Jersey this year. They can be real stingy when they want to be.
Yeah. They've been. There's no doubt they've been good, right? Like they've been an excellent team. They've done a lot of good things. Eichel, when he's on, and he's been streaky in his career, there's been times where, after 10, 15 games, people were saying he's on his way to the Hart. And then, I don't know, then he does Eichel things and, they don't make the playoffs, right? So we'll see. I think it's, that this team's based around Eichel. That, I shouldn't say that. They've got a number of good players on that team. Okay, quickly, I want to go down. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a program on here, since we've had Oilers Live out. We've had, I think, some surprises in the West. Maybe not a couple teams that aren't doing well. We're only, 12 to 14 games in, depending on who it is. We're just going to talk about the Western Conference. We could talk about the Eastern Conference, but we'll do that another night. I'll give my opinion, and then you can kind of give your opinion. I'm going to go top to bottom in the Central, then the Pacific, and then wild card, and tell me if you think it's real or not. Okay?
Okay.
Like if their record's real. Winnipeg, I'm going to go with real. 8-3-1 on the season, first in the Central, 708 point percentage. Your thoughts? Real or not?
Bonuses teams are all in or they're not in at all. There's no middle ground with them. You take a look at the history with Dallas. So are they real? Yeah, I give them the dead cat bounce for this.
I guess the question when I say real or not, is that where they're going to? Are they going to trend up or trend down as the season goes on? I'd say they'd stay. I'd say they stay about the same. Like they're going to be in the top in the Central. I think
They'll
most of
make the
season.
playoffs and they'll
Yeah.
fizzle out in the first round.
That
as
much
usual.
I could see. All right, Dallas. 13 games in, 8-4-1, 654 point percentage. I think that's, again, another team that I think they're, for real. They're going to be up there in the top 3 in the Central. Thoughts?
Yeah, for real.
Great.
Once Auditor gets back, they're really going to take off.
Okay, question here. This one's maybe a little bit different, but Colorado's 11 games in, 6-4-1, 13 points, 591 point percentage, sitting right now in 3rd in the Central. But they would be in a second wild card spot after LA of all teams. 591 win percentage. I've got to think they'll trend up, and some of that's due to injury. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're going to be better. The real stickler once again is goaltending. Like, I don't trust Georgiev and I don't trust Francouz, who is injured right now again. So I think he's injured. I can be wrong about that, but they're better than what they are right now.
Yeah. Vegas, 14 games in, 12-2-0, 24 points on the season, 857 point percentage. They're not going to be 857 by the end of the season, so they're going to trend down. I don't think they're for real. I think they're going to finish in a wild card spot by the end of the season.
Dead cat bounce with the coach. They're eventually Cassidy's going to wear them down to the point where I think they'll be in the Pacific. I think they'll be 2nd or 3rd. So yeah, probably a wild card spot at the worst.
Yeah. One of the biggest surprises so far in the season, and the guy that I picked on the Heavy Hockey Prediction Show to be fired early on, was Hackstall in Seattle. He's helped this team get to a 7-4-2 start, 16 points on the season so far, 615 point percentage. I got to think they're going to trend down. I just don't think they've got the personnel to stay in second place.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff fringe team at the best, and I'm being very generous with fringe.
yeah, agreed. I do think, though, that Hackstall's probably saved his job so far this year.
Oh yeah.
We'll skip Edmonton for now. We'll catch them later. Just round up the wild card, and then I might pick one or two folks that aren't in a wild card spot. Los Angeles right now, 14 games in, 7-6-1 with 15 points on the season, 536 point percentage. Really kind of, these guys are all tenuous even on a wild card spot. Trend up, trend down. Thoughts?
Trend down.
Yeah, my thought too.
Goaltending. Once again, I just don't trust Quick. He's one hammy pull away from retirement, and Peterson I do not trust.
Yeah. Calgary, big question mark here. 12 games in, 5 wins, 5 losses, 2 overtime points. So 500 point percentage, less than 500 win percentage, I might add. Sitting right now in the final wild card spot. Trend up, trend down.
I hate to sound like Dash, but they're going to trend up eventually.
You think so?
Huberdeau is going to start producing. Eventually, he has to. I think same thing with Uyghur there too. He's been a little underwhelming. I think with offensively wise, defensively he's been good. Kadri, you said there, you mentioned it was a point of game player. And then you've got all the supporting cast around them, like Elias Lindholm, Blake Coleman. They're Andrew Mangiapane. You go down the list, they're gonna get better, I think, anyways. But Markstrom once again, just woof. Like he's just been terrible, man. Like even tonight, they're like just they take the lead and then they melt down. And Sutter will self-destruct before he'll give up on that team.
Well, here's the thing: is that I think every coach has like Sutter, like Tortorella, like these guys that play a hard-nosed coaching style with their team. I think they all have a shelf life, like until guys stop listening to them.
Yep.
Maybe that's Sutter's, with the guys, the core that was there, and a guy like Huberdeau, maybe he's never going to listen to Sutter, right? So we'll see. I'm not. I'm not surprised. I mean, you take out your two core guys that that were there. As much as you loved or hated Goudreau and Kachuk, they were the two biggest players, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you can't just you've rebuilt your team with two other big players, right? Three if you consider
three.
Uyghur, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, the question mark around Uyghur was always, how propped up was he, right? Like, how propped up was he in Florida? Obviously, Florida is, they're about the same too, I guess. But I think they've been the better team this year. So far,
Yeah. All arrows are pointing towards Florida.
yeah.
So far, anyways.
Anyway, I mean, my view on it is this is pretty real. Expect more of the same from Calgary. I think they'll be. I kind of think they'll make the playoffs, but look, I'm not going to be surprised if they don't. I'm not. I've never been as bullish as Dash has been in terms of. And hey, look, I get where Dash is coming from, right? Like 100%. Kadri. Depending on what day of the week he's he can be a difference maker, right?
Yeah.
Huberdeau, though, I wasn't convinced that was all Huberdeau in Florida, right?
He had one hell of a supporting cast.
Yeah, and it's not like he was doing it year over year over year, right? Like, he had 1 year where he blew the numbers out, right? Like, he's been a point a game guy. What 1, 2? I'm just looking at his career stats. Two seasons out of his career, right? He's been a point a game guy. So
He's
why
been in the league for 10 years, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
why how you bet on a guy that's this late in his career, or on the second half of his career?
Yeah.
You're betting a lot on Sutter turning this team around. Anyway, that's
And
my
just
thought.
like you said-
And maybe that's just me with my Oilers colored glasses hating on Calgary. But my honest to goodness view of it is you got two players that you just don't know where they're going to come from, right? Like, what, three players. You have no idea. There's question marks around all three of them. I love Uyghur. Hey, after hours, man, that guy's a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
Right? And in fact,
Yeah,
he's
I
a
love that
former
interview, yeah.
Halifax Moosehead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
so, lots to love about the guy, except for the jersey he wears. I'll be curious how this team comes out of this. A couple teams, just get your thoughts on Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis. St.
Boy.
Louis, like, is it a
Yeah.
Perron thing, or like, what's the...
Yeah, the missing link went away there. Now he's in Detroit, and look how Detroit's doing this year.
Yeah.
Minnesota, no, they just don't have the horses. I think Flowers, I hate to say this, I think Flowers on the twilight, his last leg of his career. And after Flower, they don't have anybody else in net. Nashville, they could make the playoffs, but as of right now, trending down into the pit of despair pretty much. And same thing with St. Louis. That I'm really shocked. Like I thought, after last season, their postseason performance, their last season there, I thought, with the way Colorado started this year, I thought they were gonna, come out like gangbusters and just take over everything there in the Central, and it's just been crickets.
Yeah.
They've just been ninja dust. So they're a tough one to pick. I think they're going to eventually trend up, but the question is when. It's one for it's
They lost
definitely a
8
head
in a row.
scratcher. Yeah.
Uh,
Scary.
Here, let's. This reminds me because I had this little tidbit. Of course, when the Oilers played St. Louis, my friends over at Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running blues podcast, they do a great show, by the way. Jeff Ponder and the guys over there, they do a great show. But we made a bet, and that bet was a little introduction for each other's show, depending on the loss. So I've got this little tidbit I'm going to play for everybody right now. Just have a listen.
Hi, this is Kurt, Jeff, and Bill from Let's Go Blues Radio. What are we doing here on an Edmonton Oilers podcast?
I think it's because we're here to talk about how Grant Fuhr's best days were as a St. Louis Blue.
No, it's because we want to talk about how Curtis Joseph's best days were as a St. Louis Blue.
I thought it was because we were going to talk about how Wayne Gretzky's best days were as a St. Louis Blue.
No, wait, no. We're here because the Oilers beat the Blues in heartbreaking fashion last week, and we lost a wager, so we're here to pay up and bow in defeat.
Now here's Michael with Oilers Live. Let's go, Oilers?
Huh?
What? Hi, this...
I'm
I think we're
on
still on-
mute.
oh.
Yeah. I love it. Guys came through. A great bunch of guys over there at Let's Go Blues Radio. I've done a number of podcast wagers. I'll be up front. That was the first one I've ever won. That's why I don't bet
That's
on my
awesome,
team.
man.
Yeah. All right. We're going to finish it off. I'm just going to give you my thoughts, on everything tonight. And then, as I always do, I'll let you finish off with the last word there, Kirk. Really appreciate it. Appreciate everybody. Neil, Kelly, some stranger. I love the name. Always get a kick out of that. Jack, Stash, all the guys. Those are tuning in on Twitter, which we had a pretty good Twitter audience at varying different times tonight, and Twitch. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As usual, we will be back next week, and hopefully with the same or similar results. I was excited that the Oilers bounced back tonight, especially being a tired team, a team that had one of the worst penalty killing performances for the ages against the Capitals. And this is good. It's character. It's a lot of things. I hope Kane's all right. Obviously, we don't like to see that, and it looked brutal to watch. It was hard to watch. So let's hope that he's all right and he comes back and the Oilers figure this out. I do like, for the first time in a long time, that you lose a guy and it's not the end of the world for this team. I think they've got options. Maybe the top six is a blender, as Dash says, or whichever, and I think he's probably right on that. There's a lot of things, but I think this team has all of the pieces that they can get through this, and part of that is based on something I think Tippett never realized, which is you can play Draisaitl without McDavid and they'll find a way to get it done, right? And that to me has been the biggest change, over the last couple of years. And, the emergence of McLeod coming in and being a capable third-line center has also been a big deal for this team. We need some defensive help, I think, still. Figure out what all this means, if Kane goes on IR, how the Oilers handle it, what happens from there. It'll be interesting. I think Carolina will be another big test. Obviously, we beat Carolina when they were in Edmonton. So it'd be good, if they can follow that up with the win. Carolina's a good squad, right? One of the best in the league, if not the best. And they've been consistent, right? I think that's the biggest key out of all those teams that we said. Like, none of them are consistent over last year over this year, right? But Carolina's, they always come out and they always play the same game. So we'll see. That'll be a big test. And then going into Florida will be a big test. I think Tkachuk will be back. That'll be the first game he'll be back. if I'm not mistaken. Is it? I'm going to have to, fact check myself. Anyway, Oilers have a couple of, I think, difficult tests ahead of them before they get back. They play LA, I think, on Saturday in Edmonton. May or may not be right. I'll have to look at the schedule.
I'll look at it right now.
Yeah, so the Oilers got some work. They're 8-6. I think given the way that they started, a lot of that. I think tonight was a big game. This is what I'm going to end with before I give you the last word. I put in my Heavy Hockey Minute a clip of Draisaitl visibly disturbed with the lack of defense. I think that message was heard. I think the team responded to that. I think that's Draisaitl being a leader, right? He didn't point fingers at anybody. He pointing fingers at the whole team, right? I think they heard it. I think they got the message loud and clear. This team's got zero problem scoring goals, right? They've got zero problem. There's no offensive challenges on this team so far this year. There's a couple guys need to get off the schneid still, like Yamamoto, Puljujarvi, right? Guys that haven't been 100% this year, but hey, offensively, I think they've just been great. So good on Campbell for coming out tonight. That's all I've got to say. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. And as I normally do, I'll put myself on mute. You know the drill, Kirk. Say goodnight when you're done. Otherwise, we're all sitting here with a bunch of dead air waiting for you to end the show. But you got the last word. You're up.
Well, I would just want to say thanks again, Michael, for having me on. As usual, I still feel like a rookie some days here behind the mic here, chiming in whenever I can, and giving me the platform to do my own thing there with the goaltending end of things. I will have new material on the Pal Down podcast hopefully soon. I got to talk to Jeff Aid again because I want to talk Sabres hockey with him and how they're doing this year and the craziness there with their goaltending. And a quick shout out to World Hockey Report, Cody Jansen and the boys there. Super stoked to have all you guys there. The real Pete Tuck with all his betting. I'm a huge fan of Pete's. Even used a couple of his picks and want a little bit of coins. So shout out to you, Pete. And in final word, I just want to piggyback off of you, Michael, there with the Draisaitl and the statement that he did there in last night's presser, and I think it was heard too, and that's what a leader definitely would do. He wouldn't finger point anybody out. I think it even goes, with Connor there as well. You don't see behind the curtain, but I would say between both him and Draisaitl, there's that definite presence of leadership, and it filters down right from there. And you saw it there tonight with their performance. I'm super stoked that Jack Campbell has shown, proved his mettle, proved his worth. Hopefully, he can trend forward and go on the up and up. And once again, thanks to everybody for checking us out. Heavyhockey.com. There's a whole bevy of us there, or I shouldn't say a whole bevy of us. There is a few of us writers there working. Lots of great content. Ryan Lotsberg, Eric Friesen, even Spencer Pomodi with the prospects there too. Check everybody out on Twitter. I don't remember everybody's handles off by heart, but check us out, heavyhockey.com, or on Twitter at heavyhockeynet. Be sure to check out World Hockey Report. And let's go Oilers. Good night, everybody.
Oilers Live